Welcome to FLAMME ROUGE Racing. Welcome out to a ZMS Esports studio for this stage 18 of Triquetra. I am joined by none other, the man that you love, in fact, which we've got to try and figure this out because he's conceivably one of the most sadistic men on the planet right now, because this is stage 18 of the edition 3. Welcome, Richard Vale. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, thanks, Simon. It's been can't believe it's 3 weeks and we're almost the end of it. It's I have been called a few things, and sadistic actually is certainly what is certainly up there over the last couple of weeks, really. But that sadism isn't finishing just yet.
No, but we're almost there. This is the we got 3 more stages after today, after we get the Yorkshire out the way, I guess. But it's been from what I can see, it's been an absolute epic 2.5 weeks so far. There's been some ups and downs, quite literally, in some of the courses, Richard. So I tell you what, why don't we move on and have a look at edition 1 first of all, in the courses and the routes that those riders who are doing all 3 weeks have done so far. Maybe, Richard, you're the man in the know, the man with the finger on the pulse and obviously all the stats, but you could give us a bit of up to date of how these stages played out and how, I guess, route 1 or edition 1, as you call it, played out.
Yeah, I think the first edition was certainly had the most amount of participants that turned up so far with us. There's obviously, and we can perhaps talk about the number of other events that Zwift put on during March. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, a good turnout in edition 1. The course was set up really. There's a lot of 5-minute efforts across all of these courses out here, and certainly as we've categorised people on a little bit more on their 5-minute effort, there's certainly things on here that try to find people out quite early on. Where were they really with their numbers? The ITTs, if we look across our ITTs, barring Bologna, which is its own set of rules, they've all been quite 1 hour powers. What are we going to do in those sort of what can you put out? And certainly when the Fondo, as we started up there, we finished back up on the Petit Comp. It's still quite amazing the amount of people who can put out a great hour's worth of power, including a good 5-minute up the comp to finish. So I think performances have just been really. I think we could have made it harder.
Well, I'm actually looking at this. I'm looking at this again, refreshing myself with these 7 stages, which of course were edition 1 there. And actually, unusually, you haven't got like a really big mountaintop finish. Normally, there's almost a climb in there that almost touches those 4 digits, but there is plenty of short, punchy in there. But you're right. And this is something unique to esports athletes that, with these ITTs and the points races, we do have a lot of punchy climbs, particularly in this, but we seem to just produce these riders who can go and do the 20-minute, 30-minute, functional threshold power, just hold it there, even up to 60 minutes and still put out that 1-minute effort. Sometimes their best 1-minute effort or 5-minute effort at the end of such an epic ride already. So as always, a mixture of points races and individual time trials there. Good to see the Muckle in there. That's always a great testing course. And anyone who puts in, Bologna in there as an individual time trial is going to be sadistic in my book. Let's have a look at the next edition. This, of course, was edition 2. A little bit more climbing in this one, because I think you went up to sort of 5,000, just over 5,000 meters for this one. A little bit longer as well, Richard. So you step things up for edition 2.
Well, I think if you just consider a 3-week Grand Tour, how does a 3-week Grand? How will the tour play out? They don't stick the Grand, the Queen stage in the first week. It sits on that weekend exactly where that Quatrequest was sat. So it hits you on a Saturday, maybe the Sunday, and they have 2 or 3 stages that really start testing the legs before they give the riders a rest. And that's what we've done. We've given riders a rest on a Monday, exactly as they would normally do in a Grand Tour, and just progressed it that way. So over the course of the 3 weeks, that's how it's been set up. Start on a Saturday, end on a Sunday, couple of rest days, build up to your Queen stage, which happens to be on edition 2, and then just build up this week into edition 3, as we'll see, to the big kicker just before you get to the weekend. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Quatrequest is is an epic Queen stage in any tour, I would say. So yeah, let's have a look at the current edition then. So edition 3, and of course we're midway. We're at the midway point in this, I guess, as we're midway through the day globally, if I can put it that way. We are in Yorkshire. We're on the 2019 World's Harrogate course for a points race. And we've got the Yorkshire KOM forward on this one and the sprint forward. But I think the riders will be relieved today that we're obviously going the gentle way round, because there's no pot bank climb this way. We go down it. So a much better way going round, Richard. So what, I mean,
so I think
side of you.
It's not so much the softer side. I think, and I looked at, I do have a soft side. I think the way I've looked at it is, again, I've approached it from a grand tour. The reason we split it into the 3 editions is to ensure that people have something to aim for coming in late. If we just went for 1 edition all the way through, people miss 2 stages, they won't turn up in the last week. So they've got something to aim for with the 3 editions. And what we've done really or what I've tried to do with we've hit the back of the Queen stage, we've dropped onto the Pretzel for London and just say, there we go, it's a good start, good opener, giving you a rest day. Okay, giving you a rest day into going into that piece there. We've got, again, another long ITT with a little bit of a kicker in it. Again, we've got the transition stage of the Coast Crusher, flat. Harrogate, and again, I'm going to class this as a bit of a flashish rolling stage. It's another rolling, get me towards the end until we hit Innsbruck. And Innsbruck has got everything then to offer. If you're, and there are plenty of FRC, GCs that are split by seconds, couple of minutes, and Innsbruck can make a difference. And that's why that's positioned there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a look at some of the standings later on once we get out on course. We will be trying to cover as many categories as we can. But of course, you're finishing in Paris as well, which feels very apt, I guess, now as well. We've got the total distances there, 930 kilometres over the 3 editions, over 11,000 metres of elevation as well. So absolutely hats off to anyone who not only completed a number of stages, but completed an edition. And those riders who have gone ahead and done all 21 stages and 3 editions, then I do doff my proverbial cap. But let's move on to today and today's course, because of course we're on the 2019 Harrogate's World. In fact, no, we're going to look at the categories first of all, because this has also changed. So we've got now how many 10 for men and 7 for women now, Richard.
Yeah, and we've moved into using a 5-minute powers pace. So if we look using the Zwift Racing app, thank you Tim Hansen for putting all the effort in there. We were convinced that it's okay, let's try something else. We've tried ZFTP, we've tried X, Y, and Z, we've tried the compound score on this particular edition out there. And to be fair, I think in general it's worked out quite well. There are some issues with it, and we'll look at that after the actual show on the road. But ultimately, that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing compound score for 5-minute power. And that's how we've split up the riders into, in general, 200-point blocks.
Creative as always and innovative as always, Richard. So that's good to see. Shall we push on and have a look at today's course? I say we are in Yorkshire. We're looking at 37 kilometres for this one. So here we are in Yorkshire. Of course, we roll through and it's constantly up and down. But what always gets me on this course as well is the finish line is on a bit of a climb. But the start, we also start sort of with this gentle drag out of Harrogate too. So it's not quite a figure 8, although it looks a figure 8 on the map. But once we go over that Yorkshire Com there, we do take that left around that, doing that smaller loop before heading back through the pens, through the start-finish banner, that drag out of town, dropping down Pot Bank Climb, and then we take that hard right, which goes over the Beck. So those who don't know, the Beck being a river or a stream, I guess, which then takes us up that climb there for the Yorkshire Com. Let's have a look at the segments, because, of course, this is a points race. So first of all, as I've said, we've got this KQOM, 1.2 kilometres long. It comes at 7.6 kilometres into the route. It's a funny one, this one, because it just keeps going, and it's a little bit invisible until you get over that mini roundabout and you can see the banner coming in the distance, but that banner never seems to get any closer. Average gradient of 5.5%. I've said we've got points on here, Richard. You've got to remind me now if this is FAL points or FTS points that we're chasing on this climb.
We always do fastest. So so we're always fastest across the line. So if we've got a number of laps as we've got here, you've got 3 bites at the com to get your fastest time, and you've got 2 bites at the sprint. So that's how we roll at the day. I mean, again, I think as we've said before, why do I always do fastest? I do fastest because it gives you something to aim for no matter where you are on that particular course. It's all right. It just gives us something to go for.
Let's have a quick look at the sprint then, because I think the riders are out there. Let's have a quick look at this sprint segment because it's quite significant, this one. This is the forward sprint. This is a really short, punchy effort, this one. It is a little bit uphill as well on this sprint, which always makes it really interesting. And obviously, you've got that, you sort of turn into it. It's a little bit blind at first, and then you snake round. But of course, you've got that drag up into that. 250 meters long, and again, it comes at 10.8 kilometers into the course. And as I say, you can just see that little bit of a gradient that we've got into that, but it's all about that drag before the sprint on this one. Let's see if we can get out on the course with the riders, because it's a big field tonight, Richard. Plenty of riders on the course here.
Yeah, I think they've definitely targeted coming in tonight.
And here we are. We're sat with the B riders currently, and we're a minute into the race. So this is, as I've said, is a 37-kilometre route, this one. And again, if you just take a tour around the screen, the top left-hand side, you can see the current riders' statistics there in terms of power, heart rate, RPM in their category. And then, of course, we've got the distance next to the checkered flag. So that is the distance covered. And then, of course, the total distance of the race. So we've always got a good idea of where we are. So we're going to stick with the B riders currently. We're just sat with a GHT. That being, Richard?
Ghost.
But
indeed. Just thinking, actually, this up here, I mean, you sound like you've actually ridden up in Yorkshire before there, Simon. So I've definitely driven up this road up here. It's actually a lot steeper going up this road than in real life, I think. But it's probably not a bad place to try a bit of a test the legs on people at some point in these 3 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not a million miles away from me and you, because we're not a million miles away from each other as well. And I did say I didn't say, but I will say I was actually up there for the 2019 UCI Road Worlds. I went too. Yeah. So it was very wet, enormously wet. Yeah, I mean, it was very, very sketchy. I mean, the time trial in particular, I remember some very sketchy moments, and one famous video of a time trial bike going flying through one of the, I was going to say puddle, but it was a bit more than a puddle there. But of course, that was won by a Sprinter OS and Mads Pedersen back there in 2019. Also, wasn't when, I'm not sure if you were up there for the Tour de France that was up there as well at the time, but if I remember right, this is where Mark Cavendish crashed in the sprint as well. I'm not sure if it was the same sprint finish, but he certainly crashed. I think that was 2014, I want to say.
It was 2014. We were there. I've got some great stories from that particular Tour de France meetup. Only from the fact that I booked a hotel there many months before, once I knew it was going to be in Yorkshire. Hotel says can't give you a room. I went, I'm booking months in advance. It can't have not rooms. I turned up to actually do to cycle around there for the week with the family and for 2 or 3 days, only to find that it was the same hotel that Sky was in, Quick Step, and a couple of other things there. So Cavendish was in there. He was obviously in there as well with his bust arm. Unfortunately, after day one. It was looking not less very jovial than he was when he first went out to do the course. But he crashed on that, just coming up that steep bank towards the finish. I must say that the Sky team were absolutely fantastic when we were there as well. So, but there we go.
You had a better experience than me, because I was in the middle of a field somewhere, camping it out, on one of the climbs somewhere. So. Nice experience. I just want to give some insight here into these categories, because of course we're in with the C riders currently, but what we've got here is a mixture of different categories with this chili rating in here. So just going to run through those. If we look at the C category, I think we're looking at habaneros, we're looking at Scotch bonnets, We're looking at Cayennes in this category, or we're looking at Ghosts? No, it's the Habanero, Scotch Bonnet, and Cayennes in this one, right?
Yeah, so what you've got really in the where are we in the C pen in here? So you've really actually got the bonnets, the bonds. You got you've got the bonds in here. So probably your mid Bs, mid Bs. You've got your Cayennes. So just the two groups of mostly men in here. You may get the odd Habanero lady through here too. So, but that's what you're getting in here. You're getting those sort of very high C's, low B's, mid B's.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see a couple of the ladies in here. If I can see Peterson, I think it is, from Swedish Swifters is in here, representing the ladies. But we've got a few riders just pushing on the front here in the C category. One of the fast forward riders just on the front, pushing the pace here, 3.5 watts a kilo. Clearly a YouTuber. They've got the YT after the name there, which is great to see. So one of the Belgian riders. We're only 2.1 kilometers into this race and already pushing the pace. You can see the way that, if you look at that top right-hand corner there, Richard, the blue dots are spread right across the road here, spread right across the screen.
It's always a bit of a roller coaster down that slope down there, but I do find if you can crank up your gears, come down this slope and spin harder as you come out of it at the bottom, you should just all concertina back together. But you've got to stay. I think it's one of these little. This is about a focus 2 kilometers along here, just to make sure you don't accidentally get dropped.
Absolutely.
So because it can accidentally happen.
Yeah, we are seeing just some splits there, but as you said, I think when we just get over this little crest here and it drops down again, we should see those riders come back together. Some of the fire socks on show there as well.
Oh yes, the fire socks. And again, they'll just roll through. Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying they just roll through out there. I mean, I think they're all going to pull up the back. There will be people who get dropped off the back. But again, I suppose that's part of the categorization that you can be at, again, the bottom of your class, or you can be at the top and the middle of it and just stay in. So it's an enormously hard thing, as every organizer knows, to get everyone's categorization spot on.
Absolutely. So we're just in the deep end now. So this is jalapenos, pepperoncini, and bell peppers, if I remember rightly, Richard, for this one.
Yeah. You've also got. It
sounds like you're eating a chili yourself right now.
No, that was a crisp.
Keeping yourself fueled.
My nibbles. But you've also now got, actually, in the deep end, our women K's and bonds. Now, we combined those early on at the end of, I think it was the edition 1. If you go back to the actual categorizations and look at the way the 5-minute powers work, they didn't quite correlate to actually having men bonds and female bonds or women bonds together, because again the power is that different. So we sort of we changed the categorization side of which pen they could be in. So in here you've got quite a mix of power, but only from the women perspective. As you can see here, look, Pack's just caught up. The Revo OTR collaboration has been pulled back, and this group will actually form into 2 groups quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can see the second group just in the back of the picture there, just at the top. So it looks like there's maybe a 50 to 100 meter gap there between this front group. This have just, as again I've said, closed this gap on the Revo rider here. There's some good power numbers for a deep end. This is some good power numbers being put out currently on this just little bit of a drag that we've got here.
Yeah.
But again, all together. But again, these guys also be just waiting until we get to those segments for those riders who are chasing the points. That's something else we do need to talk about, Richard, of course, because it's not just about the GC, and we'll talk about the GC because obviously you've got this E-gap system as well. But of course, we've got the sprint classification. We've got the climbers classification, as well as the team competition, which is to play for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I look at edition 1 and 2, we've got a number of competitions that have been separated, even after 7 stages, by just 1 point, 2 points. I think I had 2 competitors in partial tiers in the first week. We had a rider who turned up for the stage 7, effectively, sprinted hard, took that particular segment away from a teammate by 0.1 of a second, and equally also took her jersey off her at the same time by 1 point, by 0.1 of a second. So we've had this competition that's raged all week, every week, and those that have been here have really, really enjoyed it, and they're still here doing it. I still can't believe that, say we've got 3 stages to go after today, and we'll have in excess of over 600 people worldwide that will have actually completed or looking to complete the 21 stages.
That's absolutely amazing and phenomenal. So you can see we're just on a bit of a drag at the moment. And then, of course, once we roll over the top of this one, we will descend. And then the next climb is going to be this 1.2 kilometer, 6% average, which is the forward climb. Just as we peek over the top here, we do get a little bit of a respite, which then zigzags at the bottom over that bridge, over the beck, before hitting that climb. And again, that's I expect where riders are really going to push the pace here and chase those points for the fastest through segment. Now, I'm wondering here with this dirt rider, we're just hanging on with the back. It's got Haggis as his name, and of course, there's a Scottish flag there. So I'm guessing the name isn't really Haggis, but he's definitely Scottish.
No. He definitely is. It's Mr. Stuart Bullock, actually. He's part of Race 3R and Dirt. He's a strong, powerful rider. I know that. He's about 84 kilos, I think, at his last weigh-in. But he'll be looking to ride on the back of that group and push up. He's. I've tried many times to beat him, maybe a couple of times.
Yep, and we can see we're just approaching the banner now. We're in with the A riders here, and we are approaching the banner of this first KOM. So we're 8.7 kilometers, and it's just Schaefer here pushing over the top, pushing that pace. Plenty of orange numbers there, 9 watts per kilo over the top for the German rider, and it is K Pool from CISO chasing the pace as well. Obviously difficult to know in terms of the fastest through segment, but we will get hopefully some results pulled up there. Look at that, Pedersen. And I spoke about Mads being one of the riders who won here in 2019. Looks like Pedersen is back here again.
I hope that's
with a notorious bucket hat as well.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that bucket hat in all fairness. It looks like it should really belong into Jumanji or something.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there, but we're back in with the Bs. And we are on this climb here with the B category riders. And it is that rider, Haggis, who we're talking about. You have to state that name again for me, from Dirt, pushing the pace up this climb.
Yeah, Mr. Stuart Bullock. He'll push hard up there. But again, I think it'll also get over here and it'll reset. It'll get through the first sprint. And, certainly what I saw when I did my event this morning, not so many people in it because they're all up here, is people come back together, they'll go again. And actually some of the times actually got faster the more times they did this actual climb. So maybe people do actually like hill repeats. Do you like hill repeats, Simon, when you go out training?
I like hill repeats on Zwift, but I don't like hill repeats outside necessarily, to be quite honest. It's getting cold down the other side that upsets me. But we're just going to take this right again over this sort of mini roundabout that we've got, and then the riders, as they go around to the left here, will start to see the banner in the distance, and we're back in with these B riders currently. Gruppo Compacto, as we say, as we head up to the top here, there is obviously a little bit of respite, as you said there, Richard, as they drop back down into the posher parts of town, if I can put it that way.
Definitely is the posh.
And we're going to go past there certainly is. There is certainly posh parts of Harrogate, I am sure. Of course, it's the Duchy Estate, no less. But of course, we're going to go through, or past, should I say, the Royal Pump Room as well. And not forgetting Scotty the Squirrel, who's there. Actually, I think Scotty the Squirrel's placed on this course where Betty's Tea Room is, if I remember in reality. So,
it's quite a lot. It's quite a way out into the countryside, though, Betty's Tea Room, isn't it?
Well, one of them is. One of them is. But it was Hocking there pushing the pace. Yeah, there's multiple now, Richard. You can find them in many places, out in the countryside and in downtown Harrogate. If you can tell, I spent a bit of time in the US recently, because I'm using the phrase downtown. I've never said that in a UK reference ever. I can see one of my level riders pushing the pace there and chasing this lone rider out front currently as well, which is good to see. I think that's Claudius.
You must tell us more what you were doing in the US, Simon. You must tell us more.
Well, I will say I did visit the front doors of Zwift while I was there. I was in Long Beach. But I was mainly there with Chris Fenker, of course, my podcasting colleague from the Virtual Velo Network's podcast. So we recorded a couple of podcasts out there and we did plenty of content. But most importantly, we went out and did some riding on the roads that inspired Watopia, none less, Richard.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We rode out that day with, we rode out there with Jacob Fraser. Jacob Fraser, formerly of Zwift. He actually then went to My Whoosh and now works for the UCI for the site on the cycling esports side. And he said that Long Beach basically is, or downtown Watopia is based on Long Beach. And the climb that we did, and I forget the name of the climb. I'm not sure if Chris Fenker is in the YouTube chat somewhere. He can remind me. But yeah, the climb is basically the Zwift KOM forward, I believe, is replicated on there. And that's where some of the Zwift staff go for their weekly ride, I believe. So, yeah, it was interesting. Luckily, the day we rode, it was sunny. So, and there he is, look, the level rider just chasing there. I am biased, I have to say, from my own team. But we're back in with the C riders currently. We got some separation with these riders here. Solo rider off the front, 13 seconds. Here we are with the Ds.
They are. I mean, you've got Eloise Cote up there from Optimum. I mean, this rider is fairly new to Zwift racing. She's so powerful. She could easily be a ghost, even though she's a Bond currently. She's got an enormous amount of power inside of those, inside of that body. So, but she's in. You know, she's really enjoyed this last couple of weeks, just getting out there and actually doing her sort of first real serious Zwift racing with us, which is really appreciated.
No, absolutely fantastic to see. And she's working her way up this climb. Just a couple of riders in front there that she's chasing down, but working hard. Really pushing that pace. Just 8.5 kilometers into this race. 14 minutes of racing down. And again, you can just look at the separation we've got amongst these riders. Plenty of coalition jerseys out there too. I think it's Beaver just holding the wheel of Cote currently. But plenty of Canadian flags. It must be the peak time for Canadian riders at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit sort of midday-ish for them, I think, at the day. Well, they're about eight hours behind us, 7 hours, something like that. So yeah, but it's really appreciated that we've got them up a little bit earlier. They normally preserve themselves to about the 11:30 time. So it's great to see them here.
You know what I can see on the screen now, Richard, as well. This is the FRR jersey that I think I'm looking at here with Santa Maria from WKG.
Indeed, if they're wearing it, they've won it, and so they've certainly had to work hard for it there. Vanessa's just getting picked out by Santa Maria there, so they'll have won it from either being a sprinter, being a polka dot winner, or a GC winner. Well, of course, they got to do one of our challenges, but more than likely it's one of those at the moment.
Well, I guess this is the right time, as your jersey is on screen, to say that obviously Level Velo are putting your jerseys into production. So not only this one on screen, I think we've got 4 different colourways. There's the red and white, the green and white, red and black and red, I think. Those are the 4 colours, Richard, if I remember.
That was the tongue twister we gave you, yes, Simon. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got all those particular combinations out there. Obviously, it's on the Level Velo site. As we've been pushing out there, we've got an ordering window that we probably want to close for kit-wise on the first set of orderings Monday, and we'll be pushing that through over the weekend too. So the casual wear ultimately can be ordered at any time. I think, Simon, that's about right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And equally,
I'm not sure if you noticed.
Go on.
I'm not sure if you noticed when we started the stream here, but I was wearing a beautifully powder pink hoodie with your logo on the chest, which is available. So, yeah, we've already had lots of orders actually for the t-shirts and the zip-up hoodies. And of course, they are available for immediate delivery. But you're right, the order window for the kit is going to close on Monday. So if you are looking to get a pair of shorts with the FRR logo, or of course, one of those 4 jerseys, maybe you've won the green jersey this time around or in a previous edition of FLAMME ROUGE Racing Tours, then of course go and check out Level Velo .cc. We're going to close the window on Monday, and then the kit goes into production, and in the next month or so the riders should be getting that delivered to their door just in time to ride outside in the northern hemisphere, at least in the summer months.
I was almost tempted to go outside the other day, actually, Simon, but then something came up that I couldn't get away from the screen. Who knows? But
who knows what that was?
Maybe soon I'll get outside.
It's definitely getting warmer, Richard. But we're back in with the B riders currently. And again, just actually closing down some of the back end of the A riders here. So it looks like we will see a bit of a mix of the categories as they start to close that gap on some of the tail end. And that could be to advantage if you get some riders that jump over here and jump across that gap. We are coming down here to complete the first lap here. It's about 2.6 or 2.5 laps, I think. So you've got a custom finish for this one, Richard.
Shocker that we've got a custom finish, and as I said in my race earlier this morning, no guesses for where the actual finish is going to be, but something just to test those legs right at the very end. So yeah, the finish will be about 300 meters just after the one com that we get to do today. So we'll see who has the power to sit in, and I suspect that most are just going to sit in now. A couple might actually go for a segment, but I think this is mostly just going to sit in until we actually get to that com again on the third lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take the right turn here, and then this is going to take us onto the Otley Road. This is sort of the longest straight section on the Yorkshire course, this one. And of course, I remember actually the last time we commentated together was on, I think that was also on the Yorkshire course, but that was the figure eight, or that was we definitely came the reverse direction. Yeah, that's it. And then we came the opposite direction here, and we came up Pot Bank Climb. That was really interesting.
I felt as though I couldn't really put Pot Bank in again. We've already been through it once in addition to. I do love it. I do love seeing the faces, let's say. But it's interesting here now. I've seen this tactic happen before. So Haggis is pushing on up this hill up there. Obviously, the DRA guys has dropped back actually. So whether he's come back to actually help anybody, he hasn't got Dom in his name, but doesn't necessarily have to if he's just dropping back of his race. He could just be having a problem. Interesting enough, you've got Steve on screen there. So you've got Steve Duchette, again, another Canadian. I think he's leading quite well. He's leading the GHT overall tour. And again, just minutes. Over again, course of 18 stages, 17 stages, just having minutes separating people, and in a few cases seconds. It's still quite amazing.
Absolutely. Well, we can take a look a bit of the team competition as well, because the top three teams currently in that GHC, that Ghost Chile categorization, is Zwift Club, the Coalition second, and it is that team that we spoke about already, Team Revo OTR sitting third, Drafting Dinos fourth, ART Racing fifth, Evolution sixth, Les Watts, is that a French play on words? I'm not sure. In seventh, Dirt in eighth, Optimum in ninth, Team Italy in 10th, and Tune Bike Works Collection in 11th. That's the GHT category. And we just sat, as you said, with Steve currently there. Another one of these Canadian riders pushing the pace. It's not a massive group, this one, Richard. It looks quite a small group here, with a bit of a split again. Heading
it looks like,
the back.
They've managed to split it. They've definitely managed to split, going up that little kicker into the finish straight. So. Yeah, I mean, there's some. I recognise all of those names in there of strong people. So they're all going to be looking at each other somewhere. I would imagine Steve is going to be very hard to beat in there as the incumbent GC. He'll want to keep his E-gap down to zero as much as possible, and I'm sure Haggis is actually going to try his best to disturb that. I think, is that Dennis Shanahan up there as well from Alpha? As a ghost rider, so yeah, again, he's another strong rider that will again try and disrupt too. So who else is coming up there? Minossi from Team Italy. Jason Stafford. Jason Stafford, yeah.
Yep. So again, this is the GHC. So this is the Ghost we're looking at currently. If we look at this, I mean, we're obviously into edition 3 with 3 stages behind us already, and these riders have already done 3.5 hours of racing there. And again, just looking at the E-gap, we've got 1 minute separating Steve Buscetti and Takoka, is it? Takoka from RTR there sitting second, 1 minute 50. You know, my attempt at these names is not that great. And Stuart Bullock, should I say Bullock, from Dirt, who's sitting in third. I really need to do that again. That was easy, that one. There was nothing French I needed to do with that name. That was just Bullock.
Not really. That was just really poor, that was, Simon. So
It really was. But yeah, I mean, just minutes, you know, less than 2 minutes separating the top 6 riders here, with David Hockin of FRR Legion sitting 6th on GC. But that's the E-gap timing. So do you want to just give us a refresh on the E-gap timing, Richard?
So the E-gap timing is all about taking out of play. Do I have to be in the biggest race, the most amount of riders to get the fastest time? If it's just the fastest time, then this particular event at 6 o'clock every day will probably be the time where you'll always get the fastest times, the most amount of riders. E-gap's all about, in the case of, let's take it for Stuart and Steve Duchette in there. If you are the only 2 GHT riders in here, what's the gap between the winner of us 2 and me? So if that's 10 seconds, my GC time is 10 seconds. If it's a minute, it's a minute. If it's a second, it's a second. So it's about the gap in your race to say, this is my race here. And again, if I do a race earlier on in the day, then again, it doesn't matter how fast I'm going, it's what my gap is. Manage the gap, manage who you know, but equally know who I'm doing, which is why we actually insist on everybody putting, Bon or Hab or GHT in their Zwift app name, so we can actually see it on screen who I'm racing against. We do have a page where people can look it up. It's called the Race Day page, and it sort of pulls off the Zwift Power the live page. But it's important to know who you're racing against, be able to see it, and work out a tactic accordingly to try and cope with it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a great innovation, Richard, and like I say, it just saves you waking up at early hours just trying to chase those fast groups, I guess, and those fast events that often has been happening in the past. So it's a really great innovation from you once again, and we've seen plenty of great innovations from yourself and the FRR team. Just coming back to the GHC riders, we're in with the Ds, but when we were in the C there, obviously GHT females, we should have seen Monique Verhoff, who's in there as well. I think she's sort of leading the categorization in terms of the females in the GHT currently, but we're currently now with the D riders, 25 minutes of racing, coming up to 15 kilometers here. And again, we can see plenty of separation here. And it is that rider you were talking about before, new to Zwift, but certainly putting the pace down here and creating some gaps.
And again, the key to that is those guys back in the group behind her. What threat is it to my race? You know, if that is the only Bon in this particular race, then she's racing against herself, and therefore it's not a threat to my race in there at all. If it's someone I should be bothered about, can I encourage the peloton to come along with me and perhaps close that gap down a bit sooner? But equally, it's quite a long way to go. We've got 22 kilometres, and although she's actually sort of pulling up into the back of into that group there.
Well,
so,
this is a really interesting group. Yeah, really interesting group, this one, because when we saw Eloise on the climb before, I think it was Vanessa Beaver who was on her wheel. And between those 2 riders at the moment, according to E-gap, there's less than 10 seconds. And I'll be interested to see, I'm just looking down the list there, we can see that Beaver is just 2 or 3 places behind there, an 8-second gap between these 2 riders at the moment. So Louisa is just trying to work to create a bit more separation with these bonds in this race. Katrine Junkers is sitting 3rd in the GC in terms of the bond category currently, from the Zwift Club, of course. But also, it's just 1 minute 34 separating these top 3 riders. So maybe Junkers is also in this race. I'm just looking down the rider list currently. I can't see the name there, but certainly a race on here between Cote and Beaver to look out for in this category. And we are in, as I said, with the bonds at this point in terms of where the ladies are concerned.
Yeah,
we have got a mixture of riders in this category.
I think you said, did you say then, Simon, that the difference actually in GC for Edition 3 between Elise and Vanessa Beaver, just 5 seconds.
5 seconds, yeah, absolutely.
5 seconds across it. So, okay, this is gap in here. The other innovation difference that we've put out there is, again, we've looked at previous series. So, okay, how can we try and close an E gap down if I never race against a person? Okay, so
yeah, good question.
If I never race against Elise, then I can never close her gap down. Well, this is where we have this sort of segment average position. So we have tomorrow, we've got 2 climb segments. So what's your average position across those 2 segments? And the top 5 people can get time back as if you've got like the bonus seconds that you would get in a GC race. You're going to get your bonus seconds back to reduce your E gap. So if you can climb faster, we have to do it on climbs to try and eradicate, draft and those sort of things. I know you can get draft and those sort of stuff, but a little bit less so on climbs. So a little bit more down to you. So that's where SAP comes into play to try and reduce the E gap down. So there we go. We had a nice
well, you mentioned
down long pitch.
You mentioned the different categories. Yeah, they're going to take a little bit of a breather as they drop down here. But of course, just also looking at the gap between these riders in the polka dot competition so far is Eloise Cote. They're also leading that competition with 1,280 points currently. It's actually Junkers there who's sitting third in GC, who's sitting second in the climbers competition. Not many points, again, just 13 points separating those top 2 riders. And obviously you've got a multiplier on these climbs as well, which we can talk about. And it is Vanessa Beaver, who's second in GC, currently sat third in this polka dot competition. But again, only 30 points separating those riders. And given the fact that they've already accumulated over 1,200 points, that is nothing, I guess, Richard, in terms of gaps. And it's quite easily to close that gap down.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing we try to recognise again, climbs have different categories, all the way up to your HC. So tomorrow's climbs, I mean, today's is probably just a category 2, so we'll double up the points. Whereas tomorrow will be Cat 4s, good 20-minute climbs, so they'll be worth a lot more points.
Absolutely. So we should be sat back with the B riders currently, as we're starting to approach that climb. Here's that little turn I said over the bridge here. You just see the marker on the left-hand side over the beck. And then we start this 1.2 kilometre climb. And then again, we are just sat with... again.
He's
chasing those points again. As if he didn't pick up those fastest through points the first time. Is there an option for these riders to pick up the multiple fastest through positions?
No, I mean, also got to bear in mind that it's his fastest time today against these guys, but ultimately the points are going to come across the fastest time across every Ghost rider across all the events today. So we're trying to again have that sort of opinion that this is just one big race with all the riders in it, but actually, rather than just people going, I've just won. I was first in my race. I was fastest in my race. Yes, but you were not fastest overall. So absolutely, you've got to be fastest overall to win your points at the top.
Well, Stuart is definitely chasing those points. We're going to come back to that. Here we are. Look up. We've got some riders on screen. We can see Marcus on the top right-hand side. James, the bottom left. I'm just struggling to read some of those names there. And they're in the shadows, some of these riders. But look at some of those pain faces working hard.
James, we had a James on there.
We'll have to come back to those names in a bit more detail, but we're just coming back to on board with Stuart here as we reach and get closer to the top of this climb. Stuart is currently Stuart Bullock, we're talking about the dirt rider we're on currently, sat 10th in the polka dot jersey competition, 1214 points, 1214 points there. The first rider, Akina from CCREW, is there with 1,267 points. So again, very few points separating these top riders, the top 3 riders in this classification. So we're still in with Ghost. It's the men Ghost this time. It's Akina there, as I said, sitting top of the table. Nico Damrat from ABR sitting second. David Hockin, I think we've mentioned, from Legion, FRR Legion, sitting third. Steve Doucette, we've spoke about him also, from FRR Borg. So these are some of the teams that you put together, or you can put together, by utilising the FLAMME ROUGE sort of, I won't say it's a dating area for riders, but you also have some of these collaborative teams, Richard, is what I'm trying to say.
I think ultimately what we've tried to do is say, look, if we've got lots of people that are not associated to, big Zwift teams, and to have a team element, we've put riders who have got less than eight riders in a club, or who have joined the tour in together. So we've got FRR Legion, we've got FRR, and we've also got the Borg side of things, a bit of the French Foreign Legion in some respects out there. So pull them all together, make them all work together. At the end of the day, they've got something to aim for in a team thing. So across all the leaderboards, that they can look across and say, okay, I'll see what effect I'm having. So it just gives people something to aim for, purpose out on course, other than sweat. Looks like
Here
there's
we
a lot
are,
of
we're
sweat
back with
going
these
on
riders.
screen.
Talking about a sweat, yeah, exactly here. So it's Chris A that we've got here, Marcus Duval, James Dominguez, and Magoo that we've got there on the bottom right-hand side. Out the saddle, pushing the power onto those pedals and working hard. Clearly on a climb, I would say, at this point. Just increasing that pace. But it looked like Marcus and James to me. And that was James there from Sisu, maybe on one of the recovery side sections.
If that was Magoo, did you say, the bottom right-hand corner there, Simon?
I did indeed, yeah.
Okay, well that's probably old Boo Magoo then from Australia. It's obviously very early doors in the morning to him. Quite a remarkable rider, I think. I think at the start of all these tour series, he was down there sort of almost starting as a Jalapeno/K, and has forced his way up into the Banya space and pushing on Ghost these days. So he's an incredibly strong rider, but he's got a way to go yet. So he's done an awful lot to increase his power. I've enjoyed actually grading him several times. Thank you.
Just see a message coming in there from. Thank you very much, Christopher. If you are in the chat, then please, leave your comments, leave your feedback. Hope you're giving your own teammates a bit of a support there as well, as we're just sat at the moment with the Scotch bonnets. We're in the C pen here, and it is Rourke from Team NL just pushing the pace again on this climb. And again, we're going to see that banner coming up pretty soon as it hits 7% on this climb. This is still a good group of bonnets here that we've got. It's a really close competition. I want to make sure we give as many riders out as possible a shout here. As we're in here with the Scotch bonnets, as I said, pushing the pace. It is RF here from forward. That Belgian rider pushing the pace. Again, really surprising, Richard, that they're chasing these FTS points. Maybe they're just trying to create some separation. It's difficult to tell because this is one of the stingiest parts of the course, whether they're trying to cause some separation and increase those time gaps, or are they still chasing these FTS points the second lap or the second time of asking?
Again, if it's anything like this morning, I think they're still pushing. He's still got the occasional rider just going to push on and try and get over. Now, he might be trying to reach the back of those, the B pen just in front of him. If he can get around that corner and down, there may be a bit of separation there. We've obviously seen that with groups merging together. With things like Source, unfortunately, I don't use it because I use an iPad and such for racing on out there. People got an enormous amount of information on screen, so they may well know if I can push an extra 3 more seconds, I can actually improve my time and affect my my standings.
Yeah, absolutely there. And again, just I'm trying to make sure we give as many riders as a shout. It's great that production team, Damon Bates there, working through all the categories as we're sat here again with the jalapenos this time. So in the D category. So again, this competition, it's Clayton Wilkinson leading the GC currently. John Grinham there from another one of the FRR Borg riders sitting second. James Maguire, 4-Star Racing, sitting in third, and fourth, Colleen Moore. Stephen Angelo from Draft Dinos there sitting fifth. And again, it's just 2 minutes separating the top 5 riders, less than 40 seconds separating Grinham and Wilkinson. Wilkinson from Revolt OTR. But we're back on. I think we're back in with Santa Maria. So
yeah, I also noticed you've got Elvira. Yeah, you've got Elvira, I think, in there from Team Italy. Again, working very hard in the K category. Again, setting some great numbers, leading the way, I think, for the Ks. So there's a lot of people in there. Equally, I think, we get focused on the front of these groups out there. There are some suffering sprinters back in the groups a little bit further down out there, and I can certainly I'll shout out to a lady called Linny O'Rourke. I think Zwift have warned her quite a few times actually over the last 2 weeks for her colourful metaphors that she's been using in game. But
they weren't aimed at you, were they, Richard?
Humour. No, but they were aimed at sections of the hill, especially Leith Hill seemed to have come in for an awful lot of hit at one point in time, and most definitely when they hit the Alp. But people did it. They got there. They enjoyed it. They say they
let's
enjoyed
not
it anyway.
remind them that what's coming tomorrow, but as you say, we are sat still here at the moment with these riders in this deep end. So a mixture of categories in this one, as we've said. So we're just sat with a couple of jalapeno riders here. Going to try and make sure again we give everyone a mention as possible.
I know one thing, Simon. I'm looking at the numbers that people have set over the course of these 2 weeks, and even if people have popped in for 6 or 7 stages rather than the 18 or 17 of what they've done out there, as I say, they have certainly increased their numbers. People have got fitter, I'll have to apologise to WTRL out there, because obviously there's a few people actually said I can't be in the ZRL Championships now because I blow my cat. But but maybe you were always stronger in the first place.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We've dragged that out of them. So, but people have had. I think they've had great fun. They've told me that. They've called me other things too.
The time comes, Richard, and I must admit, I'm at this point now. I've been at this point all season where I just got to accept that I'm going to be trying to hang on, and I've just been trying to improve my mid-pack finish in that A to A plus category. So gone are the days when I can sit in and wait for that final kick of a B or something, because it's all about just trying to move on from 30th to 29th to 28th weekend. So you've just got to reset your goals, let's say, and don't let the ego of always winning your category affect you. Just keep on working and getting fitter and stronger. But let's give these jalapenos a shout, shall we? Because you mentioned, of course, Linny O'Rourke, who was sitting 7th in GC. 6th, we've got Katie Short from Drafting Dinos, Heather Zygan there from Revolt RT, or Revo RT. It says Revo TR here, but I think it's RT. Lindsay Rogers there from Galaxy, Verena Kramer from Zwift Club, Mel Booker from WCC, and Catherine DeVault, I think you've already mentioned there, from L Watts or Level Watts maybe there up. And again, it's just minutes separating these top riders.
Yeah, so Catherine, again, she won Edition 1. And has been sort of supporting her team, Les Watts. They have Les Watts sisters, Les Watts brothers, but I come together as a Les Watts sort of combined group. The Revo OTR side of things. One of the things that makes this, again, our event has many uniquenesses, if that is even a word, is the collaboration of teams and a collaboration of clubs. So, for instance, to win the mixed league, you've got to have 4 good women and 4 good men working to get the points. Now, OTR, traditionally a great team in Canada, probably present a lot of men. Revo are an all ladies, all women's group. They've come together to form that collaboration, and that's what was important, really, for to give them such a great showing. Note that now we've got a lot of leaders on here. Paul Hamlet up there, and Najal.
Absolutely, there are some absolute quality names in this field currently. I'm also looking at the GC with these riders currently. So, of course, we are with the Capsaicins currently, which is the big hitters. I want to say these are the proper A-plus riders. And the name at the top of GC is a name that we often see. It clearly comes back again, which is Rhinus Verhaler from Abus Synergy is leading the categorization at the moment. I think it's Mulderan sitting second for the Dragons. Pedersen, we've seen Pedersen in here today, I think. He's in this race somewhere as well. He's sitting third currently on GC, less than a minute separating these top 3 riders. We've got Group there from Talent TF, or Talent F, should I say, sitting fourth. Kieran Molly from Valhalla, sitting fifth. Marcus Duval. I think we've seen Duval also here somewhere. In fact, we had Marcus on screen a little bit earlier. Yeah. Vavert sitting seventh. Paul Hamlet, we've seen him here as well from Burrito. He's sitting eighth. Frederic Suglia, FRR Bond, sitting ninth. And Kuba Standansky, which a name as I do know because he rides for Mutant, I know really well, sitting in 10th currently in GC. These are the standings in terms of the segments that we've seen, should I say, so far. And it is that rider Pedersen who's got his name in the top 3 on those first 3 segments there. Schaefer taking that first KQOM, will be the KOM in this point. Marcus J. I imagine these fasties throughs were picked up on that first lap, but you never know because these riders were pushing the pace all the way through. Chris Poole, who we've got on screen there, just riding for Sisu, he's got third. Paul Hamlet, we've talked about, in fourth. Mark Espley, one of my teammates over at Level, is also in here. He got fourth through that first climb. Marcus J, we've already spoke about in sixth. Bjorn Van, seventh. Moto Beats, your guess is as good as mine, sitting eighth. Mark Talbot in ninth, and Paul Carr 10th on that climb. Looking at the sprint, let's focus on that first sprint that he did. Ziegler took first, Marcus J second. Pedersen living up to the name there in that sprint again, picking up third in the sprint after taking up second in that climb. But these riders are getting ever closer to the finish here, Richard, with 30 coming up to 34 kilometres. So not far to go till these guys are going to be sprinting for that finish too. And
I think ultimately, given where everybody is on here, this last climb is going to be electric. They're not going to hold anything back. They're going to get over the top and whip round to the finish and job done. I mean, when you consider that Renus has only got a 1 second lead over a chap called Bjorn Malderan, and Najal is a minute behind that. So he'll not be bothered too much about the losing time to Renus, because he's actually leading overall across the 18 stages. Whereas Renus has just come in for this edition 3, but it is going to kick off up here. I think Renus will desperately want to secure his win up here and win edition 3. I'm sure he'll want to try and do that.
It's going to be a tight competition because I'm seeing Duval is in here. I'm saying Pedersen is in there. Pedersen just a minute 10 seconds behind Renus currently. Less than a minute also. Well, a minute behind Bjorn Van Malderan, should I say, who's sitting second. So, yeah, this is certainly going to be hotly contested. We got a rider just pushing the pace at the top. I think it's Hamlin off the top. Paul pushing the pace there, I think, off the top. Hamlet, should I say? It looks like it's Hamlet from Burrito.
Yeah, it is.
Pace. Indeed, it is.
He was leading the GC over the overall tour in Cap for a long, long time. And I think the time trials just took a little bit of a toll, and it doesn't take much when you've only got one winner across a time trial across the entire of your group, and that's one of the places you can really put time into other people is in that time trial. So it's a really interesting place that you've put the finish here as well, because of course they're going to hit this climb. I wonder if we're going to see plenty of separation on this climb, because this is the last time of asking up here. So you're going to punch up this climb, hopefully create some separation, because it's not too long and it's quite a fast descent to go to the side before they get to that finish line. And again, they're going to utilise some of these B riders as well, maybe just to punch through, utilise that draft. And here we go. Riders pushing the pace on the front. It is Kirschfield from the Dragons really pushing the pace here, well into double figures in terms of watts per kilograms. There's still quite a way to go on this climb though, Richard. It's amazing. Where do they get this power from, Simon? Can you tell me where they get this power from? Can I go and buy it from somewhere?
But I'm hoping there's another dropout here. Oh no, Kirschfeld. Looks like we've got a dropout maybe with a rider just stopping. Just bear with us. We're going to jump back currently with the C riders. I hope that wasn't a dropout. Even more FLAMME ROUGE jerseys in with this C category currently. And again, 30 kilometres into the race.
You should see quite a number come Sunday, Simon, when you hit Paris. Hopefully they'll come out in force for that particular show. So maybe with a glass of champagne in the hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday being the final stage. So yeah, look out for that. We will be here. You won't be here though, Richard. You're going away, I believe. Is it a holiday or is it training camp? Just tell me it's a training camp. No one has to know.
I'll tell you it's a training camp then, but it's not really. No, unfortunately not. I've managed to hold off from going away for work for about 3 weeks, strangely enough, for some reason or other. But I have to be somewhere else come Monday morning. So, unfortunately, I will have to fly out on Sunday afternoon. So, disappointed I can't make the show.
I'll utilise that segue in another way then. But Chris Fenker obviously joined in the chat a little bit earlier on via YouTube. I actually recorded a podcast last night, myself and Chris, with Lionel Vujasan. And he is going on a training camp this week. So we had a chat with him just before he was about to go away on a training camp. He tried to tell us it was a holiday, but it was definitely a training camp because he didn't want to worry the competition too much. But look out for that podcast coming next couple of days, a virtual Velo podcast from myself and Chris Fenker. In fact, we spoke to Ollie Jones, who obviously did really well recently in the Zwift Games, and none other than the GOAT himself, the original OG, Lionel Vujasan. So keep your ears open for that. Whichever podcast platform to use, that's the corporate bit done now, Richard. We can get back to racing, of course.
No, that's okay.
And we're just a few hundred metres away from the finish here. In fact, these A riders have already crossed that finish line, so we're going to jump back in with those Cs. Do apologise, we've not managed to catch the end of that race there. Looks like we just got a few technical issues with that A category or with that A pen. Well, don't worry, it's all about the community. It's all about the riders all the way down these categories. So we are 30 kilometres in with the C peloton at the moment. So this is the KNs, this is the Bonnets. We must have some others in here as well. I'm just seeing the Bonnets and the KNs currently.
Yeah, I think you've still got the big C group stuck together there. I can see Norax out there from Southern America, where he enjoys cycling at all sorts of times of the day. So and all sorts of weird and wonderful hills. I can see Matsu Panic from the Slovenian teams. Is Slovenia out there? Yeah, it is out there. So Matsu Panic. Who's even managed to get his other half into joining us as well. So Vesna has been on this particular tour on this edition. So again, it's starting to bring other parts of people's families into the FRR world, which is quite amazing. So many husbands and wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever else it is out there, partners. They're. It's amazing. Auckland to Hawaii, I say a lot of times, and it's quite amazing seeing everybody out there getting some racing together.
Well, what a great way to prepare for the spring and the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, as I said. But we're less than 6 kilometres to go to the finish line here. It's going to be almost an hour of racing for these riders. I don't think we've covered the top general classification of these riders, but it is that Sisu rider. Bolin here leading this category after 3 stages in edition 3. Currently 3 hours, 42 minutes and 19 seconds of racing under his belt. Jens Lukkerhoff from Alpen TVC is sitting second, 21 seconds behind Bolin there, and it's Stuart Davison from FRR Legion sitting in third, 37 seconds behind. Did I give that enough emphasis there when I said Legion, Richard?
Legion, the foreign legion of bringing people together. Exactly, yeah. So we'll take anybody in, and we'll not take your history. It's. Yeah, I think the just bringing people together. I mean, they don't form a community as far as a Discordy sort of type thing out there. But again, it just gives people purpose and something else to look for. So you never know, they are making a difference. So, but some massive teams out there. What else we got out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty. We should be seeing. I think we saw some of the ladies also in this pen as well. So let's have a look first of all though at the KNs, because there's some KNs in this group as well, and I guess it's a little bit of a tactical thing here, but if the KNs can just hold on to some of these Bonnets, then that really can help to accelerate their time also. It's Rob van Rooster from Team NL. We did see him earlier, actually. 3 hours, 43 minutes. He's leading the KNs currently. Carl Tini sitting second. Ian Jervis there from Zedsun Racing is sitting third. So we need to keep an eye out for some of these KNs also in this group. It's quite a big group still here as well. So again, we are going to be working our way towards this final climb before they take that descent to the finish. I think there's like 25, 30 riders in this group currently.
Yeah, I think they will go all the way, and again, it'll be a very similar as we saw with the A group. So they're going to get themselves to the bottom, and there's probably a dozen or so people in there who are really going to blast off. Rooston is the obviously leader of the K group, certainly in edition 3, and Stillen Bollen has led pretty much through stage 1 to stage 18, kept his metal really close to him all the way through in the bond space. And I think has raced really smartly all the way through. He knows what it's going to take to get over the line. You know, an upgrade could come, but equally, I think people know how to. I wouldn't say how to work it, but I know you know what you're thinking. But equally, there's ways to race. I think there's ways to race out there, and whereas other people think I've just gone, oh, you know, this is a Zwift race. Let me go and smash every climb possible. But actually, that's not how it. Oh, I've been upgraded. Oh, I got something wrong. Well, that's not.
Well, it's just
they could have done it. They could have done it a different way.
Yeah, it's you're right though. You know, a lot of people can be easily told with that brush of sandbagging. Dare I say that word? But let's be honest, it's smart racing. There is also such a thing as smart racing. I raced with a guy in the A category this season where the A riders were pushing almost 5 watts a kilo in some of those races, and he was pushing just shy of 4. And I know he's not a sandbagger. He's just a very smart racer. In fact, he's racing above his category. He knows. I've mentioned this before, and in fact, he has helped me out in a few of the recons this year, supplying some video content. So people will know who I'm talking about. But very, very smart racer, and not sandbagging because he can't go any higher in terms of his racing category anyway. But just very, very smart. Now, we did mention earlier on this course, you and I, we were talking about bad weather. Thankfully, there's no rain in Yorkshire today. But I feel like we mentioned the winners of the elite men's race in Yorkshire, but we didn't mention the elite women's road race. And I think we've got to add some parity in this because we've had a good focus on the ladies racing, the FLAMME ROUGE racing this evening. Can you remember, Richard, who won the ladies UCI Road Worlds in 2019 and how she did it? Because that was the most phenomenal thing about this particular race. I'm testing you now. I'm sorry.
You're going to test me.
I'm going to
fail. Go on.
Annemiek van Vleuten won the race, which is no surprise, but it's the way she did it. I think you may remember, but she had like early doors and had 100 kilometers solo ride. It was crazy.
But I think she's done that before as well in other stages, in other one-day races as well, hasn't she? So she's attacked with like 50 or 60 kilometers to go and just stayed out there. So I mean, I think she's got a massive engine, as we've all seen on TV. And I'm sure was there someone who did that as well in the Worlds in Tokyo as well? Didn't they do that the same sort of thing? Sure they did.
I mean, you're testing me now, Richard. I mean, I did my research for this course and this year, but I'm not sure. We're on to this final climb, by the way, with the Scotch Bonnets and the KNs currently, but I'm not sure if you saw that comment that came up there. But I mean, you've given these guys 3 weeks of beautiful pain, let's put it that way, but people still seem to thank you, Richard. So indeed, I have to echo that. You're a great race organizer in the community. We raced together even I think before you started the FLAMME ROUGE racing. I would just say keep pushing the boundaries because it's so far from what I've seen, you just keep pushing it harder and people keep thanking you even more. So something's working well, Richard.
Well, exactly. And, from across all the countries out there, people do sort of go, can we do more? Can we go even harder again? One of the things I try and give a feel for is, engage at every level from a bell class up to the cap class. Try and answer every question that comes through and try and, there's 3 weeks. can I give a tour feeling as far as organisation, as far as support to every rider? It might mean I get a few sleepless nights, as I've had, but equally, I'm just there for them. They've got a question, I'll answer it. Some of the questions can be a bit sticky, but equally, there's nothing that I'd shirk away from. And if we have to challenge someone, we'll challenge it. I don't care who it is. But again, just want some fair racing out there. But some might say, okay, sometimes we have too much communication, but we need it as we hit this top.
Talk about fair racing.
Elkins.
Exactly. Andrew Elkins sitting 13th on GC currently. He was pushing the pace, but he's just been rolled on this climb so far, but I'm sure he's not going to let this go too easy. And again, the coalition rider Elkins pushing the pace straight over the top of RF from Forward Racing here. The infamous YouTuber from Belgium, but it is Elkins currently pushing the pace. 1 minute 17 seconds off the overall GC according to eGap currently. And this is where you've got to put the work in, causing some separation. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. The riders separating back here. Bell there sitting 9 seconds back. But it's Elkins still pushing the pace. We just skip back through these riders. Not far until they get to this finish line. This left-hand turn, it's dropped down, recover, but Elkins is not going to recover. He's pushing 5.5 watts a kilo on this descent to try and hold this 5-second gap over Jens here. Fellow Scotch Bonnet rider from Germany chasing down Elkins here. Bieber also not far behind there. Bieber with a fire socks, literally on fire as the sprint kicks in as we get to the line. Just 100 meters to go to the finish line here. We're going to try and skip back through the group as well. That was quite a ferocious finish. And you really see there, Richard, how important that climb is. When Elkins pushed that pace just 4 seconds over the top, he held that all the way to the finish line. But we're back in here with the Jalapenos.
Yeah, I've always thought, whenever I've watched cycling on TV, the calm finishes are always the most exciting to me. Seeing something actually happening, some separation. We don't get the same issues as you do with a bunch sprint finish in a virtual world. So let's just pop it at the top of a climb and just rinse a little bit of extra effort out of people before we go and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're in the deep end now. So this is jalapenos, pepperoncinis, and bell peppers in there. So it's mainly, I think, jalapenos that we're looking at in this group currently. There's a couple of bonds in there, so that's going to be one of the ladies, I think, in there. That's Beaver and Eloise. This has got to be the focus, right? This is the focus here. Eloise and Beaver, just a couple of seconds separating these two riders in this group. This is the females racing with the jalapenos.
Absolutely in there. So there's a lot of Canadian flags on screen all of a sudden, isn't there? So got Nick Foisey as well in the jalapeno side. So it's I
think we've got to focus on Vanessa and Eloise here. So it's Cote and Beaver. Optimum rider there. We're just sat with currently leading the GC, but just by 5 seconds from Beaver. So where is Beaver? Just a few seconds back. In fact, just sat on the wheel there, you can see Beaver. Vanessa Beaver sat there in the coalition jersey. And we've got Santa Maria just a second ahead. And then it is Cote there, the Canadian rider, just in front. No separation yet. Just a handful of seconds between these two riders. This is where the race is at, Richard.
Absolutely. And, the more these guys get together and race each other head on head, that's where the E-gaps will really come into play. So tomorrow they've got a different ask, but we can perhaps talk about it later on. But I find this particular climb goes up in about 3 stages. You've got the first part, the acceleration into it. You get up to this little island when it flattens out a little bit, so you can start pressing on. And then just as we get to that sort of grey area,
happening.
It's pushing away.
That's what's happening here. Yeah, Cote just pushing away 3 seconds currently. So at the moment, just extending this gap. It's Cote's teammate here, just with the eyes on Beaver. Here we are. Eloise, Cote just chasing Santa Maria from WKG. So we're just seeing that gap open up. Beaver's just got to keep pushing those pedals, keep applying the pressure on those pedals to keep this gap close a few hundred meters till we get over the top there. The good thing here as well is Cote has a few riders around her. So when she takes that left turn and descent, she's got a few riders. It looked like Beaver was a little bit solo there, but she is closing that gap, Richard. 2 seconds now. Beaver coming back. She may even come into shot on the screen. Santa Maria just closing that gap. Where's Beaver? We're just looking for that coalition jersey. Just try and close the gap on Eloise. Cote over the top of this climb. There she is. She's got her inside just a few meters now. Well done, Beaver there. Vanessa Beaver just closing that gap. And said they're going to take this left-hand turn. And it's just 400 meters to the finish line. Beaver's got to keep the pressure on, though. Make sure this gap doesn't open up. Because, again, less than 5 seconds between these two riders at this stage. On stage 4 of Flamme Rouge Racing, Edition 3. I think that's that one done and dusted.
This sprint, I said they're both on the same wheel set by the looks of it, too. So, it's not as though the disc wheel's actually going to go, zip Vanessa past. So she looks like she's going to drop her the odd second. It's going to be a split second, but tomorrow there's a lot more at play. Super tucking all the way down to that finish line.
Absolutely getting that recovery. And we're just going to roll through some of these results now. So great work by the production team to pull these results through. So here are the results from the A category here. So Bjorn Van, we mentioned Bjorn Van here. Mulder, I think it was there. 52 minutes of racing, 4.5 watts a kilo. Marcus J, who we saw on screen, taking second. Pedersen there, taking third. He was also fighting for that sprint and climbers competition throughout. Siglia from FRR taking fourth. Michael Mercado sitting fifth. Chris Poole sixth, very active throughout that race. Callum O'Connor seventh. Ziegler this time sitting eighth. Paul Hamlet, who we saw pushing the pace on that final climb there, also taking ninth overall, so getting rolled on that descent. And Alejandro Poli there taking 10th. That was a better pronunciation of names there. But again, look at those numbers. One rider there pushing 5 watts a kilo for 50 plus 50 minutes worth of racing. We're going to pull in the results as soon as possible. We'll try and jump over to the Bs, and here we are. Editor Steve there, 3.5 watts per kilo, taking the win, the victory.
Yeah.
5 seconds, creating a 5-second gap there. Over second place, Matranga. Third place, Mignosi. Dennis, I'm trying to figure out there where the team name ends, because I'm guessing it's Alpha is the team name.
Alpha.
So Shanahan taking fourth. Stuart Bullock there taking fifth. David Hockin, of course, sixth. James Stafford, seventh. Steve Edmondson, eighth. Zitiago taking ninth. And Ivan Kaduski taking 10th position there. Again, just 7 seconds separating the top 10 riders there, and some really great power numbers. And again, you can just see the efficiency come into play with Denny Shanahan doing 3.5 watts a kilo. So really cagey racing there from those riders. Again, just looking ahead, Richard, let's not forget these riders are in Innsbruck on the Achaban course tomorrow. That's 47 kilometers. So that's going to take the lights twice round the big climb, but also they've got the sprint and the snapper on that course. That course pretty much takes in every point section there is available.
Absolutely, and just for fun, we make the snapper a sprint rather than a com. So give the sprinters a little bit of extra something to go for.
Well,
just
I
looking
think
on course here.
Yeah, go on. So I was going to say Strava won't actually recognise it as a com. So I think you've done the right thing. Let's have a quick look at these C category riders first of all. You can give us a bit more insight there. Andrew Elkins, that rider we saw, creating a gap there. Jens Lukahoff taking second. Alex Bieber. That RF rider, you're going to have to give me some insight on who RF is from Forward Racing there, taking fourth. Zupanic taking fifth.
I think it's a chap called Robin Fitters.
Yeah, so, Mitchell Bell, sixth.
Mitchell's an interesting story. I think he's been off Zwift for nearly 18 months and has come back in. So he's just getting back into life on Zwift again.
Absolutely
interesting
fantastic.
noticing, actually, I've seen the...
Interesting time of year to come back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just saying, I'm interested in seeing the ladies come over, the actual sort of the Peperoncinis and the Bells sort of coming up the final climb too. So just some shout outs down there really, because there's some great matchups going on between there's a lady called Tatiana Liskova, a Ukrainian lady. She's leading the Peperoncini overall GC. And I think going in today, she's got about 6 seconds over 2 or 3 rivals. Hayley Vale, my other half, my wife, partner in crime. So she's up there too. We've got Carmen, who's a great sprinter out there, has hated the hills every time she's been anywhere near one. So they're having a great battle out there. I think that battle will get probably fairly well decided tomorrow. But by the looks of it on screen, they've managed to pretty much mark each other out today. She'll be coming in huffing and puffing behind me shortly, I think, on that front. She's about to, actually, I can hear her dying in the background. Actually, she's just about to go round the corner. Just great battles out there, and a lot of new riders.
Which is great to see. And it always amazes me of how close these times are, given the course selection that you've done. Obviously, we've just spoke about Innsbruck, and that's coming tomorrow. And on the 20th, it's again, not to be sniffed at here. We're in France for Petit Boucle. And that's a long one. I think that's 62 kilometres, almost 500 metres of elevation on that one. Before, of course, it's that 42-kilometre finish on the cobbles, which is the Champs-Élysées. And we know that course on the Champs-Élysées route is tough, particularly with that segment, and then, both those segments really, or that sprint segment coming at the top of that climb is a really tough course, especially over 42 kilometres. So there's going to be plenty of action on that course throughout all of the categories. So don't forget to come and join us for that. We're going to try and hang on to see if we can get some of the final results from that deep end up, but bear with us if we don't. Don't forget to go and check out, and look at that, right on track. And here are those results, and it is the ladies leading the way. So Cote did just create half a second gap over Vanessa B there, who took third. It was Percy in second. 2 seconds separating the top 9 riders currently in that category. So great to see. So these ladies really making the race and happening here. That is going to be an interesting to watch by the time we get to Sunday evening. So don't forget, go and check out those results over at FlammeRougeRacing.com. Don't forget to check out, and I think it's well deserved, if you have competed in any of the Flamme Rouge racing tours, head over to levelvelo.cc and check out some of the clothing, whether it's on the bike or off the bike. Richard, when is the announcement coming of the next Flamme Rouge racing tour? What should we be on the lookout?
I'll give you that for Sunday, Simon. The next biggest thing that will be on our agenda really is that we'll get past this tour, and it'll be April 12th. We'll do our own, or I will call it our World Championship. This is the Ventop, right? The 24-hour Ventop, if I remember rightly. No, that's not that one. We'll do our World Championship. So we'll try.
That's in April.
Indeed. That's April 12th. So a couple of weeks' time, we'll do that one. Now I am going to probably split that into 2 races, I think, just to try and get the 4 corners of the earth to be able to do something on a day. I think trying to do it on a one race hits everyone. Friday night, people have got things to do on a Friday night. Saturday night, people have got things on Saturday night. So try and put it between the. You've got the East Coast, West Coast of America. You've got Australia, on the APAC space. So I think I will have to try and do it in 2, but that'll be April 12th. And then, as you touched on there, May 18th, 24 hours of Ventop. What could be more pleasurable than that?
Well, I think you tried to convince me last time. And of course, this is for the Cyclists Fighting Cancer charity. Yes. And then the Bodie Hodges Foundation too, if I remember rightly. So that's a 24-hour Ventop Club Challenge. Go and check out the website. Great opportunity to do the V Everest, should I say, or maybe multiple V Everest. I've been talking about it for some time, Richard, but I'm definitely going to come and do some of that with you. So go and check out Flamme Rouge Racing for more information there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to ZMS Esports YouTube channel. Thank you to Damon and the production team at the back end. Thank you, Richard, for joining me today and giving us all
Thank
the
you.
details that is Flamme Rouge Racing. And we'll see you back soon for another Flamme Rouge Racing Tour Triquetra.
I'm definitely going to come and do.
That was a bit interesting.
Hearing
In the
my own
background, was
voice.
it?